And to make matters worse, my dad was the head of the science department. The principal basically had me go in and tell my dad myself that I had been fired. Um, and like that was one of the harder. You got to tell your dad that you know what I mean. You failed. Like that sucks. Like it's really hard. Like you're talking about somebody that's working 90 to 95 hours a week, killing himself, trying to like make it.
So you were a teacher and you were also streaming, and just walk us through the story of what happened, how you became a full-time streamer.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a rough story. So like I was a full-time teacher, part-time content creator. And that worked out well for about a year and a half. I kept the lives very, very separate. The last time you interviewed me, I was a teacher, and I was working full time as a teacher and a coach, and I was very happy with my life. Although I was working like 90 to 95 hours a week, at least, because you work 50 to 60 hours a week as a teacher, because like you have your normal 8 hours a day at school, plus like grading papers, doing lesson preps. And since I was a new teacher, everything was new. So like I was crafting everything, extremely hard to keep up with. And then I was a coach as well. So I was a cross country, track, and winter running coach, which was really hard. But like so I was working all in all, and then content creation stacked on top of all of that. You're looking at easily over 90 hours a week, basically every single week of the year.
Wow.
So it was really, really hard work, but I really enjoyed every aspect of my life. It was a lot of fun, and nobody at school. You understand the two lives basically never interlap or like overlapped for any reason. Obviously, no one in my stream chat knew where I taught. They knew that I was a teacher, but they didn't know where I taught, what school I taught at, where I lived, any of that stuff. So like the school is very disconnected from everything that I did. And then of course the school didn't know that. I told the administration when I got hired, I said I was a streamer. And they looked me dead in the eye and they said, "Oh, so like when you play the games with the other people, are they like in the room with you?" And I was like, they understand what's going on. So like I did tell the administration when I got hired that I was a creator, but like something tells me that it didn't really like it went like over their head. Like they're just not like tech savvy people. They just don't understand what's going on. They're very afraid of technology, very old people. You know what I mean? And like so eventually I started YouTube and I started to blow up a little bit. The last time you interviewed me, I had like 180 viewers. Maybe 200 average viewers or so. Nowadays we're peaking out in the thousands, and our average viewership sits close to a thousand, which is like a huge win. But like a lot of that success came from the fact that I started doing YouTube, and people started discovering me on YouTube, and I was doing really well with it. Well, things started progressing well, and then at one point I was removed from my guild in game that I had built for about 4 years. I built the guild from the ground up. I built the Discord community from the ground up. I had fostered it. I ended up handing it, like I just didn't have the time to manage it anymore, but I was still a part of like the guild leading process, So like I handed like the caretaking of the guild shell and the Discord itself over to somebody else. That person removed me from the guild and the community that I had made for 4 years. And then a lot of stuff happened, and my school was very mysteriously contacted, and everyone at school. So like understand the timeline here is I was removed from my guild and my community. Certain accusations were made about me in the community. I went live and I debunked all that stuff. And then the day after that stream happens, everyone at school, the entire student body, knows that I'm a content creator and everyone is watching my YouTube videos. Literally, it went from no one knows anything to the next day the whole student body knows. Now, things fly through schools at like the speed of light. Okay. So like I have no way of knowing how people contacted the school or what happened. All I know is that like the timeline is really damning, and they also did it to somebody else about a week later. It was confirmed that they did it to somebody else as well. Because the phone was the phone number was tracked. So like very obviously somebody contacted the school and made the student body aware of my content creation. And so initially the principal called me into the office on day one and was like, "Hey, the students know, like just so you're aware." And they said, "I looked over your content myself. None of it looks like it's bad. No, like it doesn't, you cuss, but like it's not the end of the world. Blah, blah, blah. Everything seemed like it was going to be okay. But she was like, you should probably remove some of the content that you feel like might be controversial that the kids are going to be looking at. And so I did take down like a video or two, and then I took down a few clips and stuff at the principal. Like the principal didn't force me to do that, but I was under pressure from my job, and like I was like, okay, well now the kids know, so like I might as well censor it a little bit. The next day, I was called into the principal's office again, and now the lawyers were involved, and she was like, I think we're going to get through it. I think it's going to be okay. We stand by you, blah, blah, blah. And then the day after that, they fired me. And the reason that they fired me was because, I asked for the ultimate reason. I was like, so what was like the final straw? And they said, well, we received a bunch of parent calls about a post that you made on Twitter. And I went to the post that I made on Twitter, and it was basically me telling a girl to put her clothes back on because she posted like it wasn't like an NSFW photo. Like I could have looked at it while I was at work, but like it was definitely like she was comparing herself to another, like an anime character, and I said, well, one of you is wearing clothes, so there's the first difference between the two of you, because she was like, spot the difference, and I was like, well, one of you is wearing clothes, you should probably put some clothes on. Anyway, they didn't like that very much. They got a bunch of parent calls and stuff, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't really matter how the school got contacted. At the end of the day, eventually the students were going to find out. Everyone was going to know about it. And it would probably have resulted in the same way. I think that ultimately the administration and the school board they're just old people, and they don't understand how the internet works. And it's all very scary to them that somebody has a platform that they're speaking on. And like, they just don't understand, and humans have always feared what they don't understand. So yeah, they removed me as a teacher. I was contacted by a number of lawyers that really wanted to pick up the case because at this point, I went live. I explained that I was fired. Obviously, the entire student body was watching, and everybody was watching. But like, I explained that I was fired. It was picked up on Reddit. And it was picked up by major news media outlets. And I knew that morning when I woke up, I figured, okay, Asmongold might pick it up because it's on Reddit and he checks Reddit all the time. It's possible that he picks it up. So I woke up early that day. I remember I went to bed at like 4 a.m. and I woke up at 8 a.m. And I remember waking up and I felt really sorry for myself, but I was like, no, you should get up. You got to edit. I'm like, all right. I had every reason not to get out of bed that day, but I got up anyway. And I started editing. And I started working on my YouTube thing, and I pulled up Asmon's stream in the background, and sure enough, there is my name right there. And then I spam chat like a degenerate until he saw me. And then I actually got an interview with Asmon the day after that it happened. So I'm sure that many people have seen that video, and I explained basically the same thing that I explained here. Like ultimately, the takeaway from this story is I don't really care. Like the people that contacted the school can screw off. I don't really care about them. Ultimately, the school should never have acted the way that it did. The fact that teachers are held to a standard where you're paid under a minimum wage for a job that you're required to be basically completely professional 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is unprecedented, right? If you were getting paid $100,000 a year as a teacher, I could see holding them to a higher social standard outside of work. But what you're doing is you're paying a teacher $30,000 a year, and sometimes that's on the high end of what you're making. And then so they're forced to do things on the side, and then trying to like judge someone based on what they're doing on the side is kind of crazy. There was someone not too far from me that got fired for having an OnlyFans on the side. She got fired. She turned around and sued the school. She made massive money. And she had an OnlyFans. Like that was way worse. I don't have NSFW content. I don't do any of that stuff. At worst, I'm saying that my video game character, my fictional virtual polygon character in game is attractive and she's hot. She has big boobs, right? Like that's all, she's hot. Like that was the worst thing that you were ever going to hear me say. You know what I mean? Or I would do something like, you know what I mean? With my tongue, like whatever. Like regardless, none of that content was really grounds to fire someone. You're talking about, I mean, picture it from your own job, like from you, like the listener sitting at home. Like if you clocked out and went home and then your job fired you because you played video games online, like you nighttime as a video game gamer, do you think that would be fair? Do you think that it would be fair that your job holds you accountable for things that happen when you're not like at school or when you're not at work, when you're not like like literally like at work or even associated with work. I'd understand if I had associated myself with the school in any way, or if I had associated myself, like I had mentioned the school or interviewed faculty members or any of that stuff, or made the school part of my content. None of that was ever done. The school was never mentioned. It was very separated. So like to do something like that was just an egregious mistake. And to make matters worse, my dad was the head of the science department, and so I had to go in and tell my dad. I'm sure a lot of people. It's my top clip. If you haven't seen it, it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. The principal basically had me go in and tell my dad myself that I had been fired. And that was one of the harder. You got to tell your dad that you know what I mean? You failed. Like that sucks. Like it's really hard. And especially after working, you're talking about I was working 95 hours a week. I was cranking. Like, dude, my schoolwork was never impacted, right? I was always on time with grading papers. I was always on time with like my lesson preps were killer. I was always running labs and like doing fun things for the kids. And then my content, I was pumping out a YouTube video a day on top of staying on top of my cross country coaching and all that stuff. Like you're talking about somebody that's working 90 to 95 hours a week, killing himself trying to like make it, you know what I mean, just trying to live the dream, live my dream. And like to stumble like that and to fall like that, it was really hard to work that hard, and to fail like that, it was really hard. And to just have it be right in front of my dad there, it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. The principal basically had me go in and tell my dad myself that I had been fired. And that was one of the harder. You got to tell your dad that you know what I mean, you failed. Like that sucks. Like it's really hard. And especially after working, you're talking about I was working 95 hours a week. I was cranking. Like, dude, my schoolwork was never impacted, right? I was always on time with grading papers. I was always on time with like my lesson preps were killer. I was always running labs and like doing fun things for the kids. And then my content, I was pumping out a YouTube video a day on top of staying on top of my cross country coaching and all that stuff. Like you're talking about somebody that's working 90 to 95 hours a week, killing himself trying to like make it, you know what I mean, just trying to live the dream, live my dream. And like to stumble like that and to fall like that, it was really hard to work that hard, and to fail like that, it was really hard. And to just have it be right in front of my dad there. But he hugged me and he said, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna bust a move, you're gonna do great things. You're him. And they've stood by me ever since. Now, my mom said, Blue, you're him, but you should file for unemployment. Like, God bless their heart. They were like, yeah, we believe in you, but also you should file for unemployment. Because when you tell your parents you're going to be a content creator full time, it's like saying that, Mom, I want to major in art. And they're like, oh, great. There goes $120,000 of our fucking school money. You know what I mean? This dude's going to be homeless. Like you just don't do that. Or like, I want to be a music major. Oh, he's living at home until he's 35. So like they were like, you should move home with us. You should, like, we support you, do what you want to do, but also file for unemployment. Well, I'll be honest with you. My path since then has been a tremendous upward swing, like a massive upward swing. I went from probably when I started doing YouTube content in June and into July, into August, I shot up to like 600, 650 average viewers. I had the expose with Asman, which shot me up to just under 1,000. And then I kind of leveled back down at about 850, which is really crazy high for someone that, like me, I'm pretty new to content creation. I've only been doing this for like 2.5 years or so now. Maybe 3 years if you include like the very first stream. But like, yeah, like I'm pretty new to this, and like that's kind of a massive rocket up in overall viewership, especially for someone that streams something like Black Desert Online. It's very difficult to get that kind of viewership, and we've been very, very successful over time. Now we pump out 2 videos a day. I have an editor, and like I'll be honest with you, like getting fired from my teaching job was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like that's what Asman said was probably going to be the case, and like I didn't want to believe it then, and I'm glad I didn't, because it made me work all the harder, and I still work really hard for it. But like, it's absolutely the best thing that ever happened in my life. And now I'm actually in the OTK's top streamer competition. I'm flying there's 3 chapters of this competition, and all of the streamers, basically they choose from hundreds of streamers. They narrow it down to like 10. They pick like 10 that they think are going to be good. Chat votes too. I was chosen for the top 10, and then every week there's a new challenge, and they eliminate 2 streamers down to 4. Those 4 people me included in this case, because I made it into the top 4, are being flown to Austin, Texas to meet Asmongold, to meet Tectone, to meet Soda Poppin, to play mini golf with them and have like, this is like the finals, is to like do this mini golf tournament with like the members of OTK, and like whoever's the most entertaining wins this chapter. So the top 2 will move on, and then they'll have a couple more chapters after this, and then they will call the winners of each chapter back in October, and the winners play for $50,000 and a chance at collaborating with OTK a little bit more long term. So I'm being flown to Austin on Thursday. The competition happens on Friday, and I'm very excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. But like I said, it's been kind of a journey. I know I've been talking for a while, so I'll let you go. But it's been kind of a journey. I have absolutely no regrets. Do I miss teaching? Absolutely, a little bit. But like, then I just remember that I have my community and I feel way better. Like, it's way better to work for my community than it is for the school. Respectfully, these people are way better.
So I mean, that story is amazing to me. Now, I do think it is a bit unjust because, like you said, I think it's unreasonable of the school.
It's definitely,
yeah. Like it doesn't matter that they found out. It's more like why were parents trying to, and it just reminds me of this whole cancel culture debacle, right?
Yeah,
like
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. I mean, there was another teacher fired very recently. I think Asmon covered it again. He was fired because he just had an intellectual conversation with a student about J.K. Rowling and like what her thoughts on like transgenders and stuff were. And he had like a very reasonable, practical conversation about them, and that actually taught the student how to like analyze an argument and like make a reasonable discussion. And he was fired immediately for even mentioning J.K. Rowling and transgenders. He was fired from his job. That's exactly what basically happened to me. It's just a knee jerk. The school board. I mean, you're talking about people that are too old. They don't understand how the internet works. They don't understand how social media works. I mean, let's be honest. I have more Twitter followers than the school does. Okay, like that's a joke, right? Like they don't understand how Instagram works. They don't understand how Twitter works. They don't understand YouTube, Twitch. None of this. This is all foreign to them. And so, like, trying to explain it to them is almost impossible, and humans innately fear what they do not understand, and so they're just going to cut it. Like they know that, like, oh, people are upset about every time you mention a transgender, so they just cancel them, right? And for me, it's like, okay, well, he's cussing and stuff. Oh, we don't really want this associated with the school. Just fire him. Just fire him. Just fire him. Like it all feels just so rushed.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see that you're succeeding now, though, and that your community is bigger than ever, and you've really found your passion, found your purpose in this. So what do you think are the next steps? Like, you're in this OTK streamer competition. That's amazing. What else do you want to do with your stream and your community?
So there's 2 things. Number 1, I feel like I've climbed towards the top of the like the BDO directory over time. I've had a great time with it, but like now it's time to actually define what I feel like good content looks like for our category. So first and foremost, I want to take Black Desert and I want to show the community of Black Desert what good content really does look like when it comes to events, when it comes to tournaments, when it comes to like what you can do with your characters in game and how you can make events around what you do in game, right? Because I feel like there's a lot that people miss. Many content creators in our category constantly talk about how it's really difficult to make content for our open world sandbox MMO where you can literally do anything that you want and interact with other players. And I just feel like that's kind of obnoxious. It's just a lack of imagination. So like what I try to do is I'm trying to like reinvent what other people look at as like a really good tournament. For example, I put on like the biggest prize pool tournament in BDO history. It also I'm just going to go out and say it. The production value for the tournament was just flat out better than basically anything we had seen, even from Pearl Abyss to this point as well. And again, that was to demonstrate to everybody, hey, this is what's possible. If some dude living in his ghetto ass apartment who's poorer than shit can put on a tournament like this, like we can absolutely, like more people can do this. This is possible. I can help you. Let's make better content for our category. Let's make better content for our community. So like that's one thing, is like now that I'm towards the top of the category, I can help kind of define what good content looks like in the category, which is really cool. But aside from that, there's also like branching out. And like I'm always developing something on the side. In order to be like a comfortable content creator, you need to be able to go to any category that you want and stream it successfully. Like flat out, you need to be able to go to any category that you want and stream successfully. And so like in order to be a successful content creator, I have to try other categories. I have to do other things. And so like I've been playing Naraka Blade Point. Naraka Blade Point sponsored me, and I've been having such a great time with the games that like I'm starting to integrate myself into that community there. I'm starting to look over. I'll probably play League of Legends. God help my soul. I've been doing reacts to other categories, like drama and like news that's happening with them. And so I'm like trying to diversify my content. And part of like my big project recently has been this OTK streaming competition. Is trying to do as well as I can in this competition and rub shoulders with some of the best content creators in the business, and try to get some visibility in that regard. Is kind of like my next steps, because you have to branch out your content. But I don't really ever, at least right now, plan on stopping content for Black Desert. I'd like to always make content for BDO. It's kind of my home turf. But like, you know, being able to make content for other things is just objectively a win for me. So that's kind of like the next steps.
Yeah, I think it's very smart what you're doing, looking ahead. And any game is kind of fragile in the long run, but streaming content creation as a whole, once you're flexible enough, can be very sustainable. So just to, I guess, now answer some of the questions that you had and catch you up on what's changed since last year.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So what's your story in the last year? So that's my story.
Yeah. Okay, so for everyone in chat, Blue mentioned a bit of this. Basically, I quit my job in February last year to start a podcast full time.
Okay.
And
tell them how many viewers you had at the time on Twitch, and tell them how many YouTube subscribers you had, like roughly.
I think I had like 80 YouTube subscribers, and I was getting maybe 3 Twitch viewers on average, with like 50 followers.
Yeah. His job. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I interviewed you. Hollyander introduced me to you. He's a mutual friend, and we had a great.
What did I tell you?
Yeah. You told me that I should do a job at the same time, and then
you were going to be homeless.
Yeah, I was going to be homeless, and you shared how you were homeless at one point, and that was definitely a very like piercing story. It did make me consider. And then I mentioned that I had hired an editor for $200 a month, and you looked at some of my content and you said he's not really doing any editing.
Yeah, bro, this guy hires an editor, guys, to do this. The editor, there was no cutting. He didn't cut anything out. He didn't add anything. He literally added timestamps to the video. That was his job. That's all he did. $200 a month. Added timestamps to videos. Crazy, bro. Absolutely crazy. I was like, that's insane. Like, no, I guarantee you, notes in the audience going, I'm not getting paid enough.
But yeah, and then interestingly enough, because at the time I would have like these after parties, so Tony, the editor, joined the voice chat, and what happened after that? It was amazing, because so many amazing Twitch clips spawned from that, where you were roasting Tony and interrogating him. And then it ended up with Tony basically quitting and saying he would give me my money back, which, by the way, I haven't seen a single cent. But I'm okay with that.
Shocked, really.
I'm okay with that, because that was a very inexpensive lesson, which is, you know, don't hire people without really knowing what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Anyway, since then, the podcast has grown a bit. I have 500 subscribers. I just published my 100th video on YouTube, which is a big milestone for me.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I started getting higher quality guests. There were authors, publishers have started emailing me going like, can you interview our author whose book is coming out next month? And I'm like, wow, this is amazing, you know, getting traction. And then I recently just landed a job that's completely remote, part-time. So I have the flexibility to do the podcast as much as I want. They make online courses. And now, like I mentioned, I just signed a tenancy agreement. So I'm going to be renting my own place. So it's like I'm growing up.
Huge. Yeah, it's like I'm growing up. You don't have a mattress behind you anymore. It's way better.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, again, like I love what you've done with the place. The decorations look fantastic. On the huge comment, love it.
And I remember your chat at the time, like it was a big stream, big moment. Your whole chat was telling me, get a job, don't do this, and so on. And I think I spoke with Samson after that, and a bunch of other people. So yeah, there was a lot of support. And I'm really glad for that sort of wake-up call. It did help me get my life on a better track. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you were literally channeling. You looked like Andy in The Office when he like shit on on David Wallace's car and like burned all his bridges and quit his job. And then like, like that's basically like what it looked like from our perspective. What other questions do you have for me?
Yeah, so I'm also curious, like, what advice would you give other people who want to get into content creation but are afraid to take that first step?
Well, I mean, content creation is really easy to jump into. It's just a question of how much time you want to put into it. Just like with any job, you get in or you get out what you put in. Okay, so what a lot of people struggle with, and this is a big problem in our current society, is self motivation. A lot of people can't even be fucked to get out of bed for anything. Like I can't say how many people are laying in bed right now, watching it, and they haven't left the bed basically all day, and that's totally fine. We love you, but like also, if you're struggling with content creation, because you just can't get out of bed, or you can't find the motivation to go make a YouTube video, or you can't find the motivation to do your Twitch streams and stuff, it's probably not for you. Okay, you probably need to find something that speaks more to you. Content creation, you need to understand the first 50,000 hours of content creation that you do, that you actually like put in, you are going to make negative money doing. 50,000 hours. So are you willing to work for 50,000 hours for $0? Because that's what it's going to cost you. Okay, you might make pennies here and there, but then you got to buy a new webcam, or you got to buy a new like microphone or whatever. Right? It took me a really long time. It took me like a year and a half to turn a profit content creation, because every time I would make money, I would turn around and flip it right back into the stream again. Like, and then after a while, if you're consistent enough, and you make something entertaining enough, you will start to see results. But my biggest recommendation is to do YouTube. You got to do YouTube. It was my mistake at the start. The last time you interviewed me, I didn't do YouTube. I had like 200 average viewers. Now I have way more average viewers because I do YouTube. That's literally the difference. The reason our top categories in BDO sit at the top of the category, like choice and bicep, is because they had very biceptimus prime. Is because they have very successful YouTubes. Like it's just that simple. They might not do YouTube as actively anymore, but like that's what got them the initial visibility to get to the top of the category. YouTube, you're talking about, on Twitch, you're talking about thousands of people cycling through the category trying to find you, right? In a reasonable category like Black Desert, maybe tens of thousands. On YouTube, you're talking about billions of people. Okay, the amount of visibility that you get on YouTube for putting out solid videos or solid content is going to dwarf the amount of visibility you're going to be able to get on Twitch until you're sitting at the very top of the category. Okay, so once you're at the top of the Twitch category, okay, yeah, your follows per hour, it'll probably match YouTube. If you sit in the top slot of the category, in whatever category you happen to be in, you will probably have 50% of your viewers come from Twitch, and about 50% come from YouTube. But like until that point, most of the big streamers that you guys see are the people that have 100 or 200 average viewers. Those people are big not because like their Twitch stream is big. It's because their YouTube got them off the ground. Those viewers came from YouTube, and they're viewing them now on Twitch. That's where all their viewers are coming from. And the higher you get in the Twitch category, because it snowballs, the higher you get in your Twitch category, the more money you will make, or the more people that will see you, the better you will do on Twitch. And that's just how it is. Every single slot on Twitch is extremely competitive, and it's a terrible platform to get noticed on. YouTube is a lot less competitive, and it's a lot easier to understand the algorithm. On Twitch, every slot in this category is worth money. Every single slot in this category is worth money, is worth visibility. So the amount of follows per hour in a category like Black Desert Online, okay, that I am getting in the top slot is probably 2 times that of what Steve is getting, 2 times that of whatever this loser, actually that's an AFK drop stream, is 2 times that of Norelio, is 2 times that of Distro, and so on down the line. Okay. Like it's just like every slot of the category matters. And so like what a lot of new streamers will do is that I know, I should stream on Kick, YouTube, and Twitch. That way, I get viewers from all 3 platforms at the same time, and I can grow on 3 platforms. It's a slam dunk. This is a common misconception. This is a total blunder. This is a huge mistake, okay? Every single viewer on Twitch matters, okay? If you are starting your stream on Twitch, okay, and you start a stream on Kick and you start a stream on YouTube, it's extremely unlikely that a viewer is going to open your stream on 3 different platforms, okay? Especially, or even 2 different platforms. So if they're watching you on YouTube, they're not watching you on Twitch. So to put this into effect, essentially, if you have 20 people watching you on Twitch, 4 people are watching you on YouTube, and 5 people are watching you on Kick, well, if you were only streaming on 1 platform, instead of being down here in our BDO category, you'd be up 9 viewers, you'd be up 2 rows. which is way more follows per hour, which is way more discoverability. Every single row that you can get through on Twitch is a massive deal. Streaming in multiple streaming in multiple platforms is a huge mistake, because unless you have a massive gap between you and the next person, and you're sitting in the top slot, you really should not be streaming on multiple platforms, because it's going to hurt your visibility on Twitch. That's just the way that it goes. Okay, like that's just how it is. It's like, I don't recommend streaming on multiple platforms. I recommend streaming on Twitch and making videos on YouTube. Like, how you want to do those videos, you should look at some of the most successful creators that you would like to mimic, and then do your strategy of their of their content, right? So in my case, I looked at the big streamers that I looked at are Biceptimus Prime was one of the most successful YouTubers that we have in our category. So when I went to go do YouTube, I looked at the top of our category. I said, okay, so who is really successful? Let's take a look at his YouTube. Let's take a look at what YouTube videos he's doing and what his thumbnails look like, and how he's doing like his business, right? And so like, I took a lot of like advice from Bicep, not directly. It's not like I went to him and asked, but like I watched them, basically all of his old videos. I looked at the comments, I looked at how the interactions work, and I studied them, right? And then I also studied Asmin. As many people probably guessed, Asmin was one of the first people that I looked at, and I was like, okay, well, the way that Asmin does his videos are a lot different than the way that some of the people in the BDO category do theirs. So like, in our BDO category, there's a lot of people that do guides, and I'm just using BDOs as a frame of reference because this is kind of how I started. The guide market is extremely saturated. It's hard to get noticed by making guides unless your guide is like the best, or there's no one else with a guide like this. Someone like Chris Polly cranks out guides every day. This guy's content is, he's a guide maker. He makes guides every single day. Like, this guy is crazy. This is insane. But like, and you're never going to beat Chris's efficiency. Chris is everybody loves Chris Polly because if it exists, he has a guide for it. You might not be able to hear his voice, but you can read the subtitles and it'll be fine. But like, Chris is extremely competitive guide makers. Anders is an extremely competitive news channel. Anders makes really good news about BDO. So like, he basically does like the news updates of Black Desert, and he's so good at it. His thumbnails are really good. His titles are excellent. His voice is like from the gods. It just makes me wet just thinking about it. Not Gage at all. But like, this is like somebody that I looked at when I went to start patch note rundowns. I looked at why Anders was so successful, and what he's doing correctly, and then I did it in my own way. Okay, I took pieces of Asmongold's content, I took pieces of Bicep's content, I took pieces of Anders' content, and then I put them all together. And it wasn't until I got off the ground that I started doing guides. When you look at my channel, now you look at it, it's like, well, what does Blue do? Blue does everything. All right, like, I do literally everything. I do guides, I do react videos, I do patch note rundowns, I do tier lists, I do podcasts, I have highlight videos, gear advice, like guides. Like I said before, I play other games, right? Like, there's all of this different stuff that I'm doing, and I'm doing it for a number of different reasons. But like, it's because I've studied the best content creators at doing that thing in the category, and then I put my own spin on it, and I did it my way. Okay, so like, if you want to get good at content creation, look at your market on YouTube, look at your category on YouTube, look at the other creators that are successful, figure out why they're so successful, and then try to mimic it in your own way. You obviously don't copy them verbatim, but like, mimic it in their own way. All of content creation is copying people. That's how the business works. You're copying people. Even XQC, even Kai Sanat, they copy people. Right? They take something that someone else is doing, and they just do it better, right? Or they put their own spin on it, right? And that's what makes them popular ultimately, right? It's very rare that something's actually original, and that's totally fine. You don't have to make it. You don't have to be original every time you do something. Just do it. Anyway, that's my advice as a new creator. You start on YouTube, develop into Twitch, stream on one platform, and then know your market.
Awesome. Thank you. What is your dream, Blue?
I'm living it. I to be a full-time content creator, to be able to stream whatever I want and make whatever content I want for whatever game or whatever aspect of my life that I want, and to just be successful doing that. It's been a fantastic interview. I wish you the best, buddy. Really appreciate coming on the show and interviewing me again. Love you to death, man. Have a great 2024. I love you, buddy.
You too. Take care.
I wish you all the best. Follow up with me later.
See you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.